for me? Yes. Welcome to Contra Gentiles Season 3, episode, is it 33?
33, yeah. I looked it up this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe if you look it up, if you remember to. Not that it matters. Eventually Season 4 will have to begin, but...
Yeah. Can we cheers?
Oh, yeah.
I need some wine. All right. Yeah. Oof. Good.
Chiantis aren't my incredible favorite.
I know, yeah, but
this
one wasn't bad though.
I went to the Brown Jug warehouse. It's right next to my my route home. Yeah. And I grabbed it. There's a bunch of German wines too.
Oh, were there?
There's a German. I don't know what it was called. It was written in like Gothic font, but it's like red wine with other natural flavors added, is how it's described on the bottle.
Oh, okay.
And it's like in like a 40-ounce malt liquor looking bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had 40-ounce malt liquor?
I don't know.
Pull of a 40? Have you ever had a pull of a 40?
I think I have, but I can't say whether I remember.
Gnome, friend of the podcast, Gnome, has been kind of red pilling me on cheap.
Oh, really?
Alcoholic beverages. I think he was drinking like Keystone Lights or something a few nights ago, and he like made a tier list of cheap beer.
I think Gnome is a very good brander of the self.
What do you mean?
Just his name with a picture.
Oh yeah, it's
a very good branding. Like I know.
You think he's a master of branding?
I think he's good at it. I was like, wow, he's consistent. Yeah. I think I saw him one time change it, but it was like with another gnome face.
Yeah, well, he had put the gnome face on a bunch of different.
Yeah, I think I don't know, it's good.
Yeah,
I'm impressed when someone's that consistent.
I get too bored.
Yeah.
With branding, like Shadow the Hedgehog is an inside joke that will not remain like that. But I feel like in this mic I can hear my mouth sounds very, very acutely. I don't know why it stopped buzzing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I shouldn't jinx it, but it's not buzzing. So anyway, how have you been?
Good.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of prep thought time, but
yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's fine.
For me, it's just always the usual nonstop work. Take quick naps.
Queen Elizabeth II died.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that, or?
I guess I was just I was surprised that she was still alive.
Oh, I know.
And so,
it was impressive, and the fact that she was functional that old.
Yeah.
That she lived that long and was like competent.
Right. Yes. Oh, yeah. She was coherent until the end, which is pretty interesting. I thought that was kind of. I mean, I guess I don't have much criticisms about her per se. I find it a bit weird how some hosts are.
What do you mean hosts?
Hosts of different podcasts, like in Daily Wire and stuff,
or like super ultra reverent
of her, and I think what I've kind of been noticing the trend with like discussing with people on Twitter, even discussing with people who we're friends with.
Yeah.
Who there's some disagreement. It seems like one of the major disagreements, I think, is that many like conservatives, many American conservatives they accept fundamentally the principles of liberalism, and yet they reject leftism or whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's things about her that is liberal in a classical sense.
Yeah, of course.
And so they accept the principles that monarchies aren't that good. And so it isn't as if they like monarchies, they just like her. Mm-hmm. And so they're not excited that now there's a new king. They're not excited that the monarchy is continuing. They're sad that her death symbolizes the death of an era.
Which it does.
Of course it does, yeah. And so, but the way they talk about it is as if her era was a good one.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I just highly disagree with. I have more reverence for the monarchy as an institution, and I don't really care about her. It's like whether she lived or died, whatever. I'm just happy that there's still a monarchy, and hopefully it will rise again. It's just like the South in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think that it is good that there's still monarchical institutions like in England and Belgium, and I think UAE, I think still has a king. Japan, yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Thailand. Yes, because I think in the end, when all this experimentation collapses, I think the monarchy is just going to rise
still
again.
has one. I'm just trying to think of who else.
Yeah. Because we have to remember that all these experimentations are pretty new. The U.S. was less than 300 years old. All the other European experiments are like 150 to 200 years old.
At most, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're very, very new developments. And
Eastern Europe isn't really even experimenting with it in a real way.
Yes, they're not. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Like Russia's not really doing it
by name, but he's really just fun. He's a functioning monarch, or a dictator if you want to call him.
Most people, it's a lot of Eastern European countries.
Yeah. And so I do think that it's just going to go back to its natural order and the experimentation is going to collapse. And it's nice to see that there's still institutions that exist there. But I think that she represents the early 20th century form of liberalism. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was necessarily good. I do think that was an offspring of what came before it, which is probably, what was that era called? That some people like. The very puritanical, prudish queen. What was her name?
Victorian.
Yeah, Victorianism.
Victorian era.
Yeah. And when you see all that development, it's like, well, that's not, I don't think of any of those as good things. I think that is like the foundation for the collapse of the West. Not really that I want to harken back to Victorianism or I want to harken back to the 1940s or whatever. It's like, no, those are just... developments of liberalism.
Yeah.
When I say I reject liberalism, I'm claiming that I reject all of it.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the last 300 years of liberal ideology. I think it's all flawed. Yeah. Whether it was the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, when you saw all these developments, it's like, no, it's all bullshit. It's all based on the idea of humanism, where man is the measurement of truth and goodness and beauty. And that we use our inductive reasoning to come at truth rather than using deduction or induction to reach something beyond itself. And so when I see modern leftism, I just see that as a natural development of liberalism.
Well, Thomas Jefferson would have been a massive lib.
Yes, yeah.
He'd be Thomasina Jefferson or something.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. Because it's a natural outgrowth of it.
The fact that they revolted against their authority is an intrinsic part of
it is
their ethos.
Yeah. And I think what I really noticed with these different like podcast hosts is that they're the conservative ones anyways, that they are more concerned about her than they are about the institution of monarchy. I don't think any of them really want to pay reverence to monarchy itself. Mm-hmm. They want to pay reverence to her and what she represented, that she represented the era,
the post-war era,
and all that stuff. I just don't. I personally don't care about that. I think it was all nonsense. I think Hitlerism and the Stalinism and all that, Leninism, all that shit. Yeah, all of it was bullshit. But I also do think Americanism is bullshit.
Yeah.
And that,
just because we won doesn't mean we were
right. Yes,
we're intrinsically correct.
Because I think even the ones that we despise would be astonished by the bullshit that we pull off now. Most of them won't be like, oh yeah, let's accept transgenderism. Let's accept all this shit. I don't think even Hitler viewed a society full of divorce as a positive thing, or the sexual revolution as a good thing. He would have been horrified by that. He'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? It's like you want to destroy us, and now you're literally collapsing Western civilization from within. And so there's no reverence that I have towards any form of liberal ideology that spawned out of humanism, which was a natural development of Protestantism.
Yeah,
I think that entire movement is what I disagree with, and so that's what I think.
Well, because it is a monarchy tainted by liberalism.
It is, yes. At that point,
the fact that it's the fact that there is a monarchy at all, but they're openly symbolic.
Yes,
only they have no real role in the practice of government.
No,
of statecraft is weird.
I think they left it up to the fuck, hold on, let me erase this. I think they left it up to the
Parliament.
a parliament. And so,
of course, and that's true.
Yes.
Everybody knows that, and they're literally they're figureheads that get paid a lot.
Yes,
and so they shouldn't be. I
really
understand
monarchs.
people's irritation with figureheads being paid a lot.
Yeah,
when they don't feel when a group of people. I know that it's a very contentious issue in the UK. The attitudes toward the crown and stuff is a hot button issue. But I get why people who don't feel represented by the royal family would be irritated that they're getting so much money and not doing, if their only role is symbolic and they don't feel represented by them.
Yeah.
I could understand the increased level of anger about it.
Yes, yeah.
Than if they were actually doing stuff.
Because which was the last monarch in England that actually had power?
I actually have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. But has it been at least...
Like who ceded power to Parliament?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Like, I don't know if it's been 150 years since then.
Probably longer.
Probably even longer than that, yeah.
But,
And so, yeah, they're not really... I don't know. Like, it's something that I'm increasingly noticing more and more discussing with people is that it is my difference is that I really do reject things in its fundamental sense rather than its cosmetic or particular senses. Where I think there's many people that don't like the way liberalism is practiced now, and yet they still want to hold on to the principles of liberalism as if it was something good.
Yeah, the last monarch to use real, I'm reading off of Quora, so I'd take this for what it's worth, but the last monarch to use quote-unquote real institutional power in terms of vetoing legislation was Queen Anne in 1707.
Yeah, which is...
Yeah, because apparently Parliament's way older than... I think it was like in the 16th and 17th century, the Parliament was already developing. Like the American system of government already had prototypes.
Oh, yes, definitely.
For a couple hundred years in the UK.
Yeah. Because then you see that with the development with like the French Revolution and all that stuff, that it was fundamentally this, many of them are just Protestant institutions overtaking old Catholic countries. And in the end, that's what it is. Like liberalism is inherently a Protestant idea.
Oh yeah. And that's actually, I think what we mentioned it last time.
Yeah.
But that when we say that it's a Protestant idea, it doesn't mean that if you were to read Luther's writings, he would have intimated that that's what he wanted.
Yes.
At any point. You can't read Calvin and glean anything we're saying. It's just that their ideas began man, I'm having this. I literally had no time after work.
I know, me either. So.
No, I don't know, but I'm like burnt. But it set in motion a progression of ideas from that point that led to now.
Yes, yeah. And I do think the rejection of monarchical institutions is directly tied to Protestant theology. With the rejection of the Pope, rejection of the cardinals.
You're talking about the Anglican?
Yeah.
It has to do with the fact that they're Anglican?
Yeah, but yes, I think a lot of what you find within the parliamentary system and everything, it happens because it first rejected hierarchy of the church. And once you reject the hierarchy of the church, it's easier to reject hierarchy of your political regimes.
And Catholic countries have never actually rejected the hierarchy of the church.
Yes, yeah.
Like Spain hasn't.
Right, yeah.
France really hasn't.
Yeah.
Well,
they did during the French Revolution.
Yes.
Yeah, a large part of it did. And then like in Italy was with Mussolini. And so there were people later, though, there were later the ones that rejected it, but there were...
This was hundreds of years later.
Yes, yeah. And they already were populated by the Protestant ethos that kind of overtook the Western world. And so... I do think that there's a direct tie with rejecting church hierarchy to rejecting political hierarchy. And once you do that, you think that doing the will of the people becomes the good as opposed to be doing the will of God. And then thusly the people following the authorities who are placed there by God. Because like in France, they truly believe that the kings of France were elected by God.
That's why they were crowned by the...
by the Pope, right. Yeah. I think some people...
That's why Napoleon did that.
Yes, that's why Napoleon did that. Yeah, he actually was trying to reinstitute the...
Because that's I don't think many people in our audience would think it, but or would hold the view that Napoleon did it as like a power move, but it's kind of taught as like a Napoleon's egotistical, psycho power move to make the Pope crown him. Yes, but actually it was a submission to the Vatican.
Yes, a submission to the Vatican. And it was a rejection of the French Revolution. Yeah. It was a rejection of Protestantism because he was Italian, he was Catholic, and he wanted to reinstitute Catholicism back in France. I mean, this what a lot of his mission was. It wasn't just a narcissistic pursuit of whatever. He actually was seeking something good. Whether his actions were good or not, that's something else to discuss. But I do think his intentions were there to reject humanism. It was there to reject Protestantism. It was to reject liberalism and to reinstitute the crown as an emperor. And he wanted to be the first emperor at that point. And so, yeah, there's her death for me just shined a greater light to me as to what distinctions I truly have against American conservatism.
Because, hearing the commentary.
Yes, yeah. Because just hearing that, I was like, I just don't. It's you know, it's something that I think when I tend to piss off that part of the of the circle of people, it is that they
the
want
circle of people,
whatever
like
those
online friends.
Yeah, either online friends or people that aren't our friends. But whenever I whether it's in person,
super vague, but
whether it's in person or on Twitter, I just mean in general. Whenever I piss off anybody from the right who, up to that point, agree with me with everything, and look, they're with me. Whenever I criticize anything about the left, and then I make a minor critique of the right, and then they're like, "Well, what do you mean? You're a communist?" And it's like, well, no, it's not that I'm a communist. I truly reject its foundation. If I reject the foundation, it means that I reject the dichotomy. I reject the dichotomy of the left and the right. I think both are just liberal. Yeah, you know, American leftism and American right are both liberal are children of liberal ideologies. And so they're just siblings bickering with one another. When I say I want to institute a monarchy, I mean it in the fundamental sense. I think that all of this just needs to go away. All this.
You don't want to add a monarch to the system.
No, not at all. I think, you know, the idea that people are inherently good. So no, everything fundamentally is what's flawed about it. And the virtues that did spawn from it, I think, are ones that fostered narcissism. Yeah. And so when we talk about the comforts that we have now, it is true. We could not, I don't believe necessarily that we would, and this is something that someone else could convince me on. Yeah. But I don't think that we could have got the technological conveniences that we have had if it were not for Protestantism. Yeah. I do think many of these things that we hold dear to us is an offspring of this kind of liberal ideology. Yeah. Which is fine, right? I think that we all basically partake, but when I look at what that actually has done for the world, it's very hard for me to just simply say that it was all good. I think the only goodness that it came from that was that it gave us an immense amount of pleasure,
of course,
and leisure.
Yeah,
because we even have,
but not an ethos of appreciating it.
There's
no attitude of appreciating.
You can't have the appreciation in that kind of ethos. Because it only, you can only achieve that if you believe yourself to be some kind of God, right? The significance of the, is everything okay?
It's fine. Oh. They're like doubling audio on the stream, but sound like robots on the stream. But
say it again?
We sound robot-y on the stream.
Oh, do we?
Like it's doubling audio back.
Why would it do that?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm not trouble. We spent 30 minutes troubleshooting audio. It's fine. Thank you. I'm acknowledging that it sounds weird.
Maybe if I
20 minutes in.
Should I turn the
No, that's just the headphone signal. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's going to sound robot-y for one.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm not real time.
What do you mean that it sounds robot-y?
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
So if I just keep talking live here, put that up to your... It's like doubled.
Yeah.
It's fine. You can hear what we're saying. It won't sound like that on the podcast. I don't think. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of using a new interface. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, anyways, it doesn't. I'm hearing myself. It's fine.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the YouTube thing, but
yeah,
it doesn't sound like that on the
right, because you're getting directly from there, which, okay.
That's fine. It's fine.
But anyways, yeah, I do think that there is this weird acceptance of, I think, of the root of the problem, that the conservatives have that I just essentially disagree. But I kind of lost track of thought. So
no, that's fine. Sorry, I just noticed it. It's the first time that someone's had like a comment about the audio that was actually accurate to what was actually going on. Yeah. People are like, I can't hear you. And I'm like, I don't know why that happens. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will watch and one of our audio won't come up. Like they can't hear one of us.
Oh, really?
But then when they go back and watch the stream as it's been uploaded, it's fine. So I don't know what.
Oh, okay.
There's weird audio.
So it might just correct itself once it's.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, you were pissed about people complaining about the PFD.
Oh yeah,
you were really passionate.
Thing. Yeah,
I've got nothing today, so I'm trying to. I'll facilitate until I grab onto something.
Yeah, for that, I don't know if I'm still that annoyed with it, but since I'm connected to his Facebook, I get like all the messages that comes in, and just the immense amount of.
We're giving people no context for this, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, so the PFD, the permanent fund dividend.
Yeah, so it's money that we get from oil revenue because we don't pay taxes in the state of Alaska.
Yeah.
And so we actually get the surplus revenue as residents, and so this year is the biggest PFD that we're getting in the history of Alaska. Right, it's going to be $3,284 per person. So if you're like
we get a check a week from Tuesday.
Yes, yeah,
for that much money.
So people that have a lot of children like me and every other Catholic family that has like 12 kids, where this is like it's a good.
Yeah, you're literally going to get like $40,000-$40,000.
Yes, yeah. It's going to be just a good payday. So when I look at that, it's like, well, that's awesome. That's something to be thankful for, right? Because not everybody in states get that. Many states, I think in most states, is there any other state that doesn't pay any state income tax? Maybe Florida?
There's some. There's a few.
Okay, yeah.
I think there's maybe 10.
10? Okay, yeah. But I don't think there's any other state that gets the surplus revenue from this.
No, there's no industry. There's no...
Yeah.
There's no... Well, it's part of the Constitution is that there's a fund where all of the tax revenue is like from the oil...
Right,
oil industry profits are put into this fund. And then every year a certain... percentage of that is a huge the calculation's weird,
but
they calculate
because the calculation is not constitutional. The calculation was just practice, and so that's
the calculation is a whole new. They are not giving us the full amount.
Yes, they're not, right? Because the full amount was like 5,500, I think.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is annoying.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And it's unconstitutional for them to not do that.
Yes,
but it's $3,200.
Yes, yeah. And so it's just that the amount of bitching I was reading, it gets so fucking annoying. It's like, what is the matter with you guys? You're getting unearned money that you yourself didn't earn. Just be grateful. Just be like, wow, that's pretty awesome. I'm going to get over $3,000 per person in my family. That's something to rejoice about. And if you're a single guy, that's a good chunk of change. If there's something that you want to buy.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry, Derek is watching. Derek, the one that helped us with the music.
Yeah.
You remember who he is by now?
Yeah.
I remember the first 15 times I mentioned him. You didn't remember who he was. He says he wants me to tell you that he's dressed like a woman he would take mad advantage of. Good. He said, I'm about to beat off to this thumbnail and it's just you. Anyway, that's all.
Beautiful.
And then he said Kyle Rittenhouse was a closeted gay. What do you think of Kyle Rittenhouse? We've never talked.
I don't know. He's weird. I never really cared for him.
Is it like a, there's kind of making fun of Kyle Rittenhouse as like a too soon thing. Is it too soon? I
guess I don't know why it would ever be too soon. I just
people thought, he's a hero, the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean, yeah.
Which is weird to me that he was. What is your take on that now that we're at was that last year?
Yeah, I think it was last year, yeah.
I just thought the whole thing was embarrassing on all of it.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was all dumb. I was like, he's not a hero.
No.
He defended himself. I guess he's a hero in that maybe the state tried to martyr him and he won or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just think he looks gross. I just think he's weird looking and like kind of annoying.
I also think that his weird way of crying I found very off-putting.
Like, yeah. And that's whatever.
Yeah. I didn't care for that.
Yeah, because I don't think it was fake, but it was weird.
Yeah, it was definitely just I see what's going on.
Yeah. What's going on? What do you mean?
Why the live stream was that way? Because both were selected.
Wait.
Now it's fine.
Did you just fix it?
Yeah.
For after 25 minutes?
Yes, yeah.
I will message Caleb and be like, hey.
Yeah. So both for some reason, not for some reason, I didn't know I had to unclick one of them. Because remember I said whether I should choose audio or the chat one.
I'm going to wait for it. I'll just...
Yeah.
No, it's still Roboty.
Hold on.
It's still Roboty. I don't care. I really don't. Fine. Yeah. It's fine. Like 70 people will watch it. It's fine. The bulk of our audience will have perfect audio.
Yeah.
And for this one, I guess our YouTube viewers will.
Well, I didn't turn that part off. I do think that's why.
We're just talking about it a lot.
I probably need to stop the stream and restart it for it to kick. That's probably what it is. But anyways.
Whatever. Sorry, YouTube people.
Yes, yeah.
We'll never mention it again because this has occupied 5 minutes of conversation time. 20% of the stream.
But, other than that, I don't know. I just don't really have much.
I don't either. He keeps resurfacing in like TikToks and stuff.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's just like a weird looking.
He's crying. It just seems
he looks
like
a baby.
Yeah. When people were defending him crying as being real, I was like, I personally don't believe his crying was real.
Yeah.
That was weird. No human being cries that way. I don't know. Unless he is that severely
That
autistic.
was actually one of the Twitter drama last year. Mainly I experienced one of the many layers, one of the pieces on the board, I guess you could say, was what's his name? Class Redux Killer of FedPost, which we've never discussed because I didn't really listen to them. But he said if I don't remember what the tweet said, but it set off a firestorm. But if Kyle Rittenhouse is convicted, he'll become George Floyd for the right.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, that's actually yeah. They'll make statues of him,
right? Yeah.
If he's convicted, if the state does make an example of him in that way, that there would absolutely be statues. There'd be a memorial.
Yeah, there was one story that I really actually do have more strong thoughts on. That's kind of recent. I don't know if you saw it, but there was this. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll put this way. You're fixated.
There was this. I don't know if you probably saw in the news, but some girl's ex-boyfriend was trying to get a hold of her. Like they got out of the car and they thought he was harassing her, and so then he went to the door, started banging it, and shoved his elbow.
And then he got shot while running away. Oh yeah. What was? Remember his name?
Yeah. But you see, that one, I actually highly disagree with the right's defense. I just why? I mean,
why does he just get to shoot the guy?
He was unarmed. Mm-hmm. If you cannot take on an unarmed person who obviously is not strong enough to break down the door, he was like the scrawny little guy. I don't think that
it was somewhat kind of an execution in a way.
It was, yes, yeah. He just I got a gun. And then just shoots him 3 times. I really don't see where the virtue is. The people on the Daily Wire were just hammering how virtuous it was that he was protecting us. I don't. It just seemed weird to me.
No.
If somebody was doing that, I'll walk out the door and be like, "You can't see my daughter," and then I'll punch him in the face, and then I'll do whatever is necessary. Put him in a headlock if he doesn't want to leave, but. He was already protected by the door. Because
that's the thing I think that does happen occasionally is that the father I think genuinely thought that he was acting in self-defense, shooting the guy. Like I think he thought that.
Maybe.
But really, what it was
is
yes. Because
there was no real threat. He didn't break the door down.
He didn't break the door down. I mean, I guess he was damaging property. You don't get to kill people.
You don't.
For that,
yes. Yeah.
Unless you're an anarchist or something.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But
and I remember what's his name. I think it was Matt Walsh who was making fun of the idea of warning shots. I think a warning shot would have scared him.
Matt Walsh really annoys me every single time he opens his mouth. Every single argument he makes is garbage.
I don't think everyone is.
Every one of them.
The woman argument was great.
Yes, but that didn't require much effort. You just asked the question and pissed people off, which was good. It's a good shtick. I get it.
It is, yeah.
I don't think he's unentertaining, but every argument he makes, I'm just like, stop. Like be a comedian or something. Like this isn't.
Yeah.
He gets really like, and like gets really indignant and like one-liney, like a dad and a pause, and then he one-lines and pause, and then one. And he's just super. He's feeling super superior about it, but his argument is bad. I'm just like, it's just so unaware.
I think he's probably one of the people that you and I disagree with. Because I actually don't find him that bad.
I find him so annoying.
I actually think he's pretty coherent and consistent. I don't think he's all the time right. Like in this case, I don't agree with him.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it because Michael Knowles also was scoffing at the idea of having a warning shot.
I actually didn't hear. Maybe I did. I'm just not remembering.
Yeah, because I really do think that would have been enough for him to stop. Right? You didn't actually have to shoot a kid 3 times.
I think it was only twice.
It was three shots. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because then the neighbor came out and says, "Oh, I heard 3." But anyways, it just seemed way over the top for
what was happening.
What was actually happening. You already were protected by your door. You already were in.
Was this last week or the week before?
I think it was last week. It might have been last week.
But
either way, it was pretty recent. And so something like that, I would be like, yeah, I just don't. I would not kill a teenage kid for that. Like I have daughters, and if my daughter dated somebody that dumb, that was kind of harassing, I would stop him. Obviously, I would do something, but I would use physical force. That's in a different sense. You
punch him in the face.
Yes.
Like you change his face a little bit forever.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But he actually had a ring. He had like a ring doorknob camera. He knew he was unarmed. He wasn't there with a gun trying to shoot you. If he was banging on the door with a gun in his hand or a gun in his holster,
of course, he's a threat.
Then he's an actual threat. But without that, I don't see why that was a justified shooting.
So it was murder too.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he.
Well, especially I think he was already running away.
At that point, he wasn't. He kept banging, and the only time he ran away was when he got shot. And he was like, oh, and how that's that pathetic kind of cry when people actually die. Yeah. It's horrible. Like I hate watching people die because it's not at all interesting.
No, it's horrible.
Yes.
It's pathetic.
It's really just gross. But yeah, it to me it just was an unnecessary killing of a dumb teenage kid who didn't really understand the boundaries of a breakup. Like you don't go to your ex-girlfriend's parents' home and run your shoulder into their door as if you're going to tear it down. That's stupid.
Yeah, but
does that deserve an execution? I would say no. That deserved a good ass kicking, but no, it seemed weird.
Well,
to me.
It's very easy to shoot people.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that a warning shot would have terrified him, even if it was 3. Don't actually hit him. Just point, boom, 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 and he'll be like, "Fuck, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out. This guy's crazy. He's gonna shoot me."
Yeah.
You would have left it at that. Mm-hmm. Or if you actually were a man, go out there and punch him. Mm-hmm. But there's no more. You see, like this is the one problem that I do have with guns. I think guns,
we're gonna gun control stuff.
Yeah.
I think you and I agree, but I piss people off.
Yeah. So here's the one thing: guns, they say, helps the weaker against actual violence, right?
Yeah,
and
course,
so you have a female with a gun and an aggressor coming at you, you could shoot.
Of course, that's great.
Yeah, that's what it is. But I do think that it contributes to the demasculation of masculinity.
Masculinization.
Masculine, yes.
Masculation.
Masculation. Whatever, yes. I think that it causes one, you know, whenever you look at many of these really, really, really pro-gun people living out in the countryside, what is one main theme that you normally notice? They're overweight.
Yeah.
They're very unathletic, and
they drink a lot.
They drink a lot. Like what this kind of a gun culture has done. I think that it contributes to the pussified man. Like a real man back in the day with his sword would go out there and fucking fight. Like, what is more terrifying than somebody coming at you with an axe and you got a fucking sword or whatever, or a dagger, and you're going out there for battle and everything? I think what guns have done was kind of eliminate that quality. And that's not to say that I despise guns. Obviously, I own guns. I think it is good because of the kind of world that we live in. You can't just defend yourself with swords or whatever. But what I'm saying is that it gave people that mindset that they don't have to actually fight anymore.
It's that there is no risk in defending yourself. There's no, or other people, or the risk is lessened.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That I also think that the comments about how like warfare has become more distant and impersonal.
Yes, yeah.
Is like it's changed man's relationship to threat.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just and like I said, just towards his own masculinity, that he, you know, I think that it just really caused this weird effect within men for not wanting to actually go out there and fight and risk getting hurt. You know, he, rather than fighting this person with honor, with dignity, he just shot him.
Yeah.
Like you're just hunting and it's just dead.
Yeah.
And I guess I made this tweet, and there was one guy, I don't remember who it was, but that got really irritated with it. And it was that, you know, I think. I
didn't see it. I have to go find it. Anyway, go. I'm
this is so distracting. What's going on?
I was going to find your tweet. I just said it out loud.
It was a while ago. It was my old account.
Oh.
Yeah. It wasn't. I was
just going to go find your tweet. Because I was like, I don't remember a tweet.
No, but yeah, it was that. I think a lot of right wingers who are Christian claim that certain things are neutral and that they have to be sanctified, right?
Yeah.
And I heard what's his name? Stephen Crowder talking about this the other day. And so he was saying that, you know, like violence, sex, and all these things are neutral, but they have to be put into the right context to become virtuous. And that part I disagree.
They are virtuous.
Yeah, that they are virtuous, that gets perverted. You can pervert these virtuous acts by doing certain things, but inherently it's a good thing. A man fighting somebody, there's dignity to that. There's a dignity in a fight, in a violence. And when you just have people shooting each other, I do think that you reduce that dignity significantly. You don't have that hardship. You're not using your fists. You're not using, you know, close quarter kind of weaponry that can actually put you in some kind of intense, dignified danger. I do think what it makes it is just pathetic.
Well, you also don't walk away with wounds nearly as much.
You don't, yeah.
No.
But like watching that video, there was no dignity there at all. It was a scrawny, dumbass kid who obviously was heartbroken by this chick and just was being retarded and stupid. What kind of idiot does that? Who goes to their parents' house and starts trying to bash the door down? You have to be so brutally stupid.
Yeah, brutally stupid.
But it was just, everything about it was just pathetic. He was a pathetic man who is just so emasculated that he doesn't just go out there and find another pussy to fuck. Rather, he goes there and tries to bother her in her home, in her parents' home. Stupid.
Yeah.
And then you have this pussified man who couldn't defend his daughter with dignity and honor, didn't go out there and didn't talk some sense to this person. Rather, he just shoots him and just walks away and acts like he's a virtuous person. It's like, you're all just pieces of shits. Honest, you all did, yeah. You didn't try to do anything. You didn't put him in a stranglehold. You didn't go there and risk to be like, I'm going to defend my daughter by going out there and maybe being punched in the face, but I'm going to give it right back at him. I'm going to give it everything that it takes. No, just a pussy hiding behind a door, shooting somebody, and then acting like you did something good.
I'm going to mute this group chat because it keeps popping off. They're in there now. I didn't realize they were going to be popping off in the group chat. Sorry about all the sounds. Because now it's distracting me where I'm like, wow, it's like every second and a half, forever. All right. Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, it's like in my chair and I'm feeling it. I'm like, oh my God. No, I agree. I just think it's...
Yeah. And so that's...
I remember seeing it and was just like, it's not fun to watch. It's not...
No, it's...
Like, you can make fun of the guy for trying to bash the door down.
Yes, yeah.
Like, yeah, you died for that. That's stupid.
Of course, yeah.
But then you can't...
But in reality, that's just... That entire scene was just pathetic.
Yeah.
Everything about it. There was no glory in that man shooting a kid.
What weapon should I conceal carry, if not a gun? If you think it would be more honorable of me to use some kind
No,
of...
I think now you have to because the enemies have guns.
No, I'm just saying around town.
No,
homeless people aren't just going to have a gun.
Homeless people don't, but still, I think now...
Do you ever conceal carry?
I have a 10 mil.
You conceal carry a 10 millimeter?
Yeah.
Wow, I guess you're shaped for it. Yeah. You're quite what do they say? Peruvian people look like they came out of a can. They're like really like wide and like stout.
Yeah.
Even when really, really good shape, they're like barrel shaped.
Yeah, it's always barrel shaped.
Yeah.
Especially when you mix with black.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 10 millimeter.
Yeah.
It just thinks it's your dick the whole time.
Yeah.
They're like, wow.
Yeah.
You wear like the tightest pants of any man I know. It's really funny. Everybody thinks you're the gay one.
Yeah, that I am.
Yes. Like everybody thinks that, like everyone.
Yeah,
like it's a frequent theme that either someone asks me or someone they knows us well. Like people go like, I've been listening to this show and I can't tell which one is the gay one.
That makes it even better.
No, because they can't.
Yeah.
What is it? Derek says you dress like you're in the Matrix. Like, you have this like... You talk about not liking camping because you get dirty and stuff.
Oh,
like, who's the gay one?
Yeah. It's me. Yeah, it's... I don't know. When I was a kid, I liked playing outside, but again, I want to go back in the house. Because I'm not going to sleep in the ground.
No, I know. We get it.
But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I don't enjoy that either. I don't like the dark.
Yeah, it's just...
I don't like sleeping in the dark. I don't like sleeping where I can't see stuff.
It's just gross.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm human, man. We built civilization. So we don't have to live like a dog.
Yeah.
There's a distinction with us that the savages and the animals.
The campers. The savages, the campers. Yeah. Their LARPing is...
They are.
Like African tribes people.
Yeah. In places like Alaska, it's every single time it's the wealthier ones.
Oh, yeah. Because the equipment's expensive.
It is, yes. And they're all like, well, I'm going camping. I was like, okay, yeah. Have fun with like $300,000 camper. It's like,
at least.
Yes.
I'd rather buy a house, but...
Yeah. It's crazy to me. So that's why you like it, because then you go outside and you have a little fire, you talk around it while spraying yourself with a mosquito.
Oh, dude! I call it the anarchist encampment. Is under this overpass.
Where
I work, like it's like a 2-minute walk from the building, minute and a half.
Which side of town do you work in?
I work right where International hits a T on the access road to Seward Highway.
Okay.
Like right in the middle.
Does that count as like?
It's
south
Midtown. It's
Midtown.
Kind of. It's International Airport
Road.
Yeah. But the trail, like the bike trail thing.
Yeah.
Goes underneath the overpass of the highway goes over it.
Yeah,
and they're like constantly burning giant things and stuff. Like
really,
there's like
how come I've never seen this
thing? Because you wouldn't see it.
Yeah,
it's just under an overpass, and there's like woods and there's trail and stuff.
None of our listeners are going to know what we're talking about, but I really do want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah,
which one of those exits do you constitute South Anchorage?
Okay,
because I don't know where the demarcation line is. Because if you're driving on the Seward Highway, I think International Airport Road is right after Tudor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tudor,
Dowling.
Then Dowling, I think most people constitute as South Anchorage. I don't think that's Midtown.
It's not, but it's like a transition spot. Diamond is obviously
South which is Anchorage. Right after Dowling, though.
It's not right after geographically. It's the next exit.
It's the next exit, but I think it's only 2 miles.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm after
2 miles sounds right.
Yeah, and it's pretty damn
so
close.
Dowling might be the boundary, which would not include it either in South Anchorage or Midtown.
Yeah.
So I think it's a no man's land. I don't.
You really, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. But if we can make that the boundary, then the boundary itself is not the region.
Yeah, because I normally use International Airport as a boundary.
I think that's too Midtowny.
Yeah, because I know that's still Midtown. That's what I mean. Because like after that,
that's the last part that's in Midtown. But Dowling is the boundary.
It's the boundary line. Okay, yeah.
I think. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think that's I'm more comfortable with that.
Because then Dowling turns into Raspberry, and Raspberry's South Anchorage.
I know it is. Yeah,
but that's also Southwest Anchorage, which is a different.
It is. Yes.
It's a different section.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Southeast is a weird.
Yeah. Because North Anchorage is easy. It's Eagle River. Yeah. It's like you have just base.
And then like Muldoon.
Yes, yeah. That's East Anchorage. Yeah. It's like those ones are easy to pinpoint.
Well, North Anchorage is like Government Hill.
Technically, yeah, but they normally constitute.
Eagle River is part of the municipality, but I wouldn't call it Anchorage.
Yeah.
It's like a satellite state.
I know, it's weird.
It's weird.
They always say it's Anchorage Bowl. I was like, okay.
Well, we're not even in the bowl.
You are, yeah. Eagle River is constituted as that.
We know, but it's there's a curve that happens.
Yeah,
it's not really. It kind of is. It's
all the way to Peters Creek.
I know, which is weird.
That's what they claim.
It's weird, but probably Dowling is like the boundary, and then Minnesota is the boundary between like East Anchorage.
Yeah,
like over the airport and stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry to go on the tangent, but
no.
That part always kind of.
I think Dowling is probably the line.
Yeah.
Then obviously,
because you wouldn't constitute Dowling as Midtown though.
No, but it's a boundary. I don't constitute it as either.
Yeah.
I think it's the boundary.
So like because
so here's the thing. Yeah. So when you're driving, past like all the car dealerships on Old Seward, towards Tudor, going this way. If we were going south. There's that point where there's the peanut farm.
Yes.
The bar that invented the duck fart shot, if anybody's ever had that. It's a Kahlua. I'm trying to remember what's in it. It's Bailey's Irish cream, Kahlua, and something else, and it's like a shot that kind of comes standard in many bars, not all bars, but many bars, but it was invented here. So we have duck farts and ranch dressing are our Alaskan inventions.
Yes.
People that don't know that.
You know how old I am?
How old?
I still think of that area as being the strip club area.
It still kind of is. I mean,
because Peanut Farm had Showboat.
Yeah, but what's the
other one? I can't remember.
It's still there.
That one is, but I mean,
what is it called?
When I look at Peanut Farm, that building.
Yeah, it's just,
I don't think of because that was where Showboat was for a long time. Yeah, and the owner, when I was a busboy at Captain Cook, came in like with 3 of his strippers. And I was like,
What's the strip
Bush
club?
Company.
Bush Company.
Yes.
Bush Company.
Yeah,
Can you believe they call it Bush Company? Like, come on. They have very good burgers, I think.
Really?
I think so, if I remember it.
I've never eaten there.
I might be saying something.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's that point where you pass that chevron and Old Seward like curves.
Yes.
There's like past the AIH and stuff. Alaska Industrial Hardware, for people that don't know what that is.
Yeah.
That's the transition to me.
Okay.
Once you're through that curve.
Yeah.
then you're in South Anchorage. And Dowling is like right in that.
It is, I know, yeah.
But I think spiritually, you're no longer, because this is going to sound way overthought and poetic, maybe archetypal or something. Yeah. When you're driving past the car dealerships and there's like International, and there's like, Bush Company, and then Fats Repair, auto repair. There's like Bailey's is there.
Yeah.
That's like the shadow of Midtown, and you're like driving away from Midtown.
Yep.
And then when you take that curve, you're driving into South Anchorage, because there's it's all woods on the right.
It is, right.
So there's like this natural transition.
Yeah.
And then you end that curve at Dowling, and then you're in South Anchorage. Like it's very, that spot is the part that feels like a spiritual transition between neighborhoods in a way.
Yeah.
Like there's like an easement between Midtown and South, because it's not like a natural division.
And I actually think that that becomes even more obvious if you take C Street. Because if you take C Street, all that
there's
industrial.
Like yeah, there's like nothing there.
Yes.
And then boom, you're on Diamond. You're on Diamond.
Yeah. It's just a
empty one.
Yeah, empty one. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's normally when you see it, because Diamond definitely is what I think about at least the beginning of South Anchorage.
What's the part of Anchorage you've been in the least?
South. Yeah.
A specific part of South Anchorage, or
like DeArmond and stuff?
Oh, like Rabbit Creek, DeArmond.
Yeah.
The like almost hillside part.
Yes, yeah.
Mine, I think, would be southwest. Like if you take Clat all the way over, I'm like, I don't know what any of this is.
That's probably my second
or
one, I would say.
Government Hill is weird.
Yes, that is. It doesn't even feel like Alaska.
No, it feels like Washington.
Yes, I know.
It's weird.
Yeah,
it's a lot of that area during the earthquake was just like those people. If we have like a 9.0 again, Government Hill's gone.
Yes, yeah.
Like half of it was gone. An elementary school went into the water.
Even the neighborhoods don't seem like Alaska. It's almost like, I don't know, like a lower
Mountain View doesn't feel like Alaska.
Oh, that Mountain View is kind of weird too.
Everything on that side of the highway is just like
weird.
They have extremely good food in Mountain View.
This way everybody tells me we should go there sometime. I really want to try it.
Just somewhere.
Yeah, I've never eaten in Mountain View.
We should do that soon. Yeah, we could do that soon.
Mountain View always just reminds me of people that used to drop off when I worked at Outback. Oh, yeah. Some losers in a kitchen that never had a car.
I think the one. So my car's been stolen multiple times.
Yeah.
The Honda that I drove, a '95 Honda Accord with the 5-speed.
Oh yeah.
And it was stolen 3 times. One time, they found it parked in Mountain View.
Yeah.
There's like a when you get all the way to the end, there's like a end street that caps the neighborhood off, and then it ends in like a dead end thing where it like overlooks the railroad and stuff. It was like right there. And then one of the times it was the car chase started in Mountain View, but then ended like over by the university.
Oh yeah.
It was like in a car chase one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Was this during the Walker years with the SB9?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was a victim of it 3 times.
Yeah, that's what everybody was telling me.
My car, it was broken into in my driveway in Eagle River. There's homeless people in Eagle River now.
Right? That was like the most retarded thing they ever did.
They were like, that was actually when so.
It's like they repealed it, and immediately within that month, like crime.
It was repealed again.
Yeah, it was repealed with Dunleavy.
Oh, when he got in, it was
it was the first thing he did. And then that's when it all just pretty much stopped. Like the crime levels went down so quickly.
Because the wild thing is when one time it was stolen. It was stolen from Spenard. Oh, and then ended up in Mountain View. I was like, okay, the 2 shitty ones. Now I'll just have to do something in Fairview. But and then I'll have all the bases covered. I'll have the bingo charts like filled out.
Yeah,
like shitty Anchorage neighborhoods to have your cars stolen from. When I was with the police, they were like, if you file, the police officers when the report was being filed would say stuff like, file it as theft, because if you file it as auto theft, they literally couldn't appropriate funds to doing anything about it.
Yeah, I know.
They're like, we can't spend money investigating auto theft.
Yeah.
It's because it was like the statistic was they were finding 90% of cars within the first 90 days.
Yeah.
Because what was happening is because the laws were so lenient, drug dealers would steal a car, drop it off at at like some kind of whatever the transaction was.
Yeah.
And then dump it, break into another car, steal that one, and drive it across town to the next deal. So they were using cars like taxis.
Yes, yeah.
So like my car was always found. It was always dropped off.
Yeah. Yeah, and they weren't allowed basically to be prosecuted. So these people would just be fucking doing this. They were stealing people's tools. I remember in the valley.
I had like 3 pairs of sunglasses.
Yes, all of my neighbors, they had like their garage broken into. All their, like, I was lucky that we didn't have a garage in that house, so I think that's why. But garage broken into, and you could call the cops, and they couldn't do anything.
No, you could tell they wanted to, but
I know
literally they were barred from.
It was one of the most ridiculous things that ever got passed, and so probably one of the best things when that got repealed was like, fuck, finally. And then that way, because then all those guys got arrested, and then guess what? The crime stopped because they're just repeat offenders. Like, there's literally like not a handful, but there's a collection of people that commit those type of crimes.
This is why libertarians are so funny to me.
Yes,
is they're like, oh, no laws.
Yes, yeah.
Like what? People just act well, like in the best interest of them and everybody else.
It's like, well, if I'm not consented to it, I'll just walk away. And you think this guy isn't going to follow you?
That's what I want to do is I really, I know we've like in private discussed doing like sketch comedy. We have more time to dedicate to stuff, but I really want to do one where it's like an anarchist, who gets like mugged and then like beaten to death.
Yeah.
But the entire time he's being beaten to death, he's like screaming about the non-aggression principle. Literally it's like a 2-3 minute sketch of a guy being literally beat to death.
He just seems so childish.
He's getting like kicked. He's like getting kicked in the mouth, and he's like MVP. Like it could be funny.
Yeah, I think I tweeted it that one time too. I was just like, I honestly think that you guys either have no inclination to commit crimes, but the way they talk about it is like you really have not committed a crime.
You've never broken the law.
Yes, that's the way I feel. Like, if you really think that is the way it functions, like, ooh, you didn't pay your taxes, the guys are going to come at you with to the door. Ooh, you didn't do this.
You know what's funny? You know what you can say? It's interesting how much I can hear this in the mic. The question next time is, you say you don't pay your tax. I just accidentally hit the rim shot. It was an accident. I'm playing with my mic stand. But next time I'm just thinking about a strategy on how to reply to these people. Where they say something about, you don't pay taxes, the government shut up. It's like, you've never not paid your taxes before. You should say that. And they'd be like,
yeah, you've always willfully paid your fucking taxes.
No.
Yeah.
When they come to my house. They won't.
What, do you think you're fucking Shakira?
I don't pay my taxes and I want a fucking king.
I remember when Matt wasn't paying taxes for 8 years.
Oh, it was Matt? Hell yeah, dude.
8 fucking years. And he was like, I'm not gonna offer it.
Can we have him on next week? Will you ask him?
I think he'll finally be back in town. He's been doing this summer job.
So when he goes out of the bush.
Yeah. When he gets back in the winter, we can.
When's the winter?
Probably soon.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just figure that out.
But yeah, I think it was hilarious. It's like, oh my gosh. It's funny to me because they really
you literally never not paid your taxes
because it makes me laugh sometimes. The guys are just so naive. You have never committed a crime before, obviously. If you think the cop you commit a crime and he's just going to show up at your door
and execute you.
Yes, you really think it's going to happen?
You didn't pay taxes.
You could beat somebody, beat them, and go to work the next day.
Can you talk about your brother?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that at home? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. Which one?
The crucifying the guy.
Yes.
Is that something? Is that all figured out and everything?
Oh yeah, I think that one is done now.
Okay.
So yeah, so like he was working. My brother was working at. I'm not gonna say his name, but my brother's working at
the Home Depot.
And then there's this dreadlocks guy that would just minorly rude to him, but us Latinos just overreact.
Well, your family's special, but.
I don't know. I've met many other ones. But yeah, there probably is a certain more insanity with our family. No, but yeah, and so he said something like, he's like, oh, I don't need your help, whatever. And so that his attitude bothered my brother. And so then my brother just completely freaked out on him.
Was all it was?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Was he not? He wasn't having just an off day or something?
No.
Your brother's just a psycho?
Yeah, somebody disrespected him. And so you disrespect one of us, you're going to get like the insanity. So he just followed him around the store, yelling at him just a bunch of profanity. He's like, you fucking loser, you with your stupid dreadlocks. Oh, look at me, I'm a piece of shit. You should go crucify yourself. Nobody's going to miss you. Just a bunch of shit.
You should crucify yourself multiple times.
Yeah, you should hang yourself. And you should do this. Just go die, you piece of shit. You limp dick motherfucker. Just everything that comes to your mind, right? It doesn't make
funny
much
people
sense.
that know you and how you interact online. I'm like, yeah, your brothers do this in real life.
Yes.
You're the normal one.
Yes.
You're the socially adjusted one.
Yeah. That's also because I actually can do physical violence. My brother's like really scrawny, and so
he's short. I met him that one time, and I was like, wow, he's puny.
All he has is his mouth. And his looks. But
well, he's suited for prison.
Yes. But anyways, so yeah, it was like this very
you should thing. Grant says you'll do fine.
And then so this guy, this pussy man with dreadlocks, called the cops. And then the cops, but then my brother left before the cops came, right? And then the cops went there. He says, "Where is he?" He's not here. And you know what the cops did the next time? He called him on a phone. And then my brother didn't answer. And he got a letter in the mail to show up to court. Yeah. Like, that's what happens.
Yes.
Right? The idea that a bunch of cops are going to march to you and be like, you didn't pay your taxes. Here's my guns. I'm going to aim it at you until you pay. That doesn't happen. You're going to get a piece of mail. And you know what he did with that mail? He took it, crumpled it, and threw it in the garbage. All right? And then nothing happened to him for an entire fucking year. He got a job. He continued to work. He went to court when he felt like it. And then did whatever the punishment is and walked away. Yeah. It's like that is a normal interaction with the cops.
Yeah.
You know, whenever it escalates to like a gunfight, it's because
you are trying to shoot the cops first.
You're being that disruptive.
No, you point a gun at a cop.
Yes, yeah.
Or you point a gun at somebody else.
Right, yes, you do. You're doing something. So whenever you see these news stories of cops shooting somebody, you have to realize that it escalated so far.
And of course, there are cases where that's not the case.
There are some, but it's very rare because the cop is not going to even show up. The cop is going to show up if somebody is frantically calling 911 and saying, "Oh my gosh, we're getting into a fight. He's beating me, blah, blah, blah." Like, it has to be a frantic moment for the cop to actually show up. It's going to take him 15 minutes to even get there. So you're talking about like a 15-minute point in which somebody's beating somebody or threatening them for the cop to even show up. So, like a random act, like I decided not to pay my taxes, is not going to bother. They're not going to do anything.
No.
They're going to go to court order. They're going to try to levy your bank account before they even arrest you. They're going to try to maybe garnish your wages. There are going to be so many things that go on for years. Like I'm talking about years to even garnish somebody's wage. It takes roughly 1 year for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because you have to give them 120 days before you could even report.
Yeah.
All right. So it's already 3 months off the bat before you could fucking report it to the cops. The IRS is not going to come to you until 120 days.
Well, they are training people with guns now.
Yes, but I'm to guarantee you they're not going to show up.
Yeah.
Because they never have and they never will.
So you think it's just cosmetic? It's an aesthetic thing?
Yes. They're not actually going to. They have never done that in the history of this country, and they're not going to start now. When Wesley Snipes didn't pay taxes, it isn't as if people showed up with guns. He had a court order to come. And if he didn't come, then they'll find him and arrest him. But if he wasn't at home, it wasn't like, now we're going to go on a manhunt because this guy didn't pay taxes. He could have been to fucking Cuba. It would have been done. He literally could have just left the country, and been like, I just don't want to be American anymore. I'm not paying my taxes. I'm done. I'm done with this bullshit. I'm out.
Yeah.
He could have done that.
Yeah.
And any one of us has the privilege to do that. That is the way that we live in this country. And so all those narratives that they try to present to you, the counterfactuals, aren't actually reflections of reality. Mm-hmm. The government is not going to show up to your home with guns if you don't pay taxes. The government is not going to show up to your door with guns if you had a minor domestic violence charge. Mm-hmm. They're not going to come to you for any of those things. They're going to show up somewhere. Normally they call you. That's normally the first thing. They call you and they ask you to come in. Mm-hmm. If you don't come in, and then they're going to go to your house. If you're not home, they're not going to keep coming. Yeah. They're not going to waste their time because they could knock on the door and you just could sit there and not answer. They could keep knocking, just sit there and not answer, right? And then you know what they're going to do? They're going to walk away. Yeah. Because it's not a pressing thing. You're not holding people in hostage. Like when the cops break down a door, it's normally something extravagant. It's something that is out of the ordinary.
They can hear a woman actively being beaten.
Yes.
They can hear gunshots.
Yes.
They have strong enough evidence to know that there's 100 pounds of cocaine.
If they're investigating a serial killer. And okay, that's, again, there has to be something that is so pressing, something that is so important that they have to go in there. That's why the raid to Donald Trump's home was so abnormal. People are so shocked by it because of its abnormality.
Do you like how the documents leaked immediately after they were recovered by the
Yes, yeah.
Because immediately?
It was. Because it's an abnormal act. That is not what the ordinary person experiences. Even someone as famous as Shakira just gets a court order to come to court for evading taxes in Spain. Because it's not the imagination of what many of these libertarians and people talk about. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that there's a weird fantastical reality that they exist in that in no way actually resembles what happens in the world. Mm-hmm. They just make shit up and they just want you to be fearful for the shit that they make up. Mm-hmm. And it makes absolutely no sense. It's like, no, we just, the way that our society functions right now, and it probably, I would say majority of the Western countries function this way, is not this hyper aggressive government that wants to shoot you in the face for evading taxes, especially just a middle class worker. Like all these fucking people that are on Twitter bitching, I doubt any of them are multimillionaires. Yeah. If you're a multimillionaire, maybe because it's a big, they pay like 90% of the taxes. Yeah. Our taxes are pissed to them. They don't really give a shit. Yeah. They give a shit more about the people that actually pay the taxes, the people that actually contribute big chunk of change to them. But anyways, yeah, it's just, it's laughably bad.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with me today. I feel like I think I'm burning out from work and etc.
Yeah.
So, why do they call RCI? This is a total shift, but I was going to start the RCIA on Tuesday, Roman Catholic Initiation for Adults. For people that don't know, no one's going to not know that, but one guy will. Mm-hmm. One guy of the hundreds of people listening. Be like, what is that?
There's a real cradle Catholic who just never encountered converts. Like, what's that?
Someone on earth isn't Catholic?
Oh my gosh, before you go into your spiel. Yeah. So in Pennsylvania, there's this town, Hazleton, that's like a bunch of Polacks. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is that one of my friends didn't know that there were other Christians besides Catholics. Like it shocked him. So he went to Misericordia to college, and then there was this one Protestant who was studying. I forgot what he was studying there, but ultimately he wanted to become a pastor. He was like, "Oh, cool! So you're going to become a priest?" And this guy looked at me and was like, no, a pastor, a minister. He was like, yeah, a priest. And he was like, no, I'm not Catholic. He goes, oh, what? And then like for like 2 years he still didn't fully get it. He still thought that they were just Catholic, but that they were practicing a little different. Yeah, practicing a little different. Like he's Polak. They were just like this weird new age Catholic people. Yeah. And then he dated one. And he went to yes, and then he went to like service for their family and everything. He was like, what is going on here?
That's a blessed life.
I know. He also thought that hamburger, another name for hamburgers was Whopper.
Because the Burger King.
Yeah, and so he kind of in Hazleton didn't really have a McDonald's there, but they had a Burger King.
No.
And so it's just a Whopper. And so one time we went to McDonald's and they went to drive-thru and was like, hey, can I have a Whopper? And the person on the other side didn't respond for a second. And then he was like, he said it louder. I want a Whopper. And then they were like, sir, we don't have Whoppers here.
The more you've said Whopper, it doesn't sound like a real word now.
Yeah. And it sounds like hoagie. Like that's how you use it.
No, like Whopper doesn't mean anything. You know, if you repeat a word enough times, sometimes you'll just it'll completely lose meaning.
But then
I hear you saying Whopper, and I'm like, that's not a real word.
I know. Then he was like, "What do you have that's like a Whopper?" So he was like, we have a quarter pounder with cheese. I was like, okay, I'll get one of that. And so whenever we would go to drive-thrus, I would be like, if I'm on the passenger side, I would scream on the other side, can I get a Whopper? And he was like, shut up. Anyways, okay, continue your story. Just reminded me.
No. It's not a story. I'm just shifting.
There's people that actually are that way, like real cradle Catholics that don't realize
there are other
that there's Protestants in the world.
It's blessed.
Yeah.
But no, that I was going to go on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But then I had this weird fixation. I wanted to go to St. Andrews for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's purely logistical.
Yeah.
But I have this. So what? I was going to go to Holy Family, which is a 1/10 of a mile that way. It's like really we're right next to the cathedral here. You could finish recording and go to mass in 10 seconds. But I almost wanted to do it because they don't do Latin mass at St. Andrews.
They don't.
Yeah, it's a totally Novus Ordo thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it. Because they do it's not the Tridentine Mass. Mm-hmm. It's a Dominican.
Dominican Rite Mass.
Dominican Rite Mass, which is also in Latin, but it's different. It's not the same thing. It's similar.
Yeah, it's roughly it's a version of the Tridentine Mass. Tridentine Mass just refers to that style.
Novus Ordo.
Yeah. To the old Mass, and so.
What was the pre-Vatican II Mass called?
They just called it.
Mass, yeah, but there's a word, there's a phrase for it that I couldn't remember right now. If I tried.
Traditional Latin Mass?
No, I don't know what the thing was. Maybe many nerds will text me when they hear me asking this, but and I'll make sure that they all feel special and pretend that the person before them didn't tell me already. No, I'm kidding.
You're special.
No, okay. But I wanted to do it. Like, I just have this. I want to make sure that I don't develop any superficial attachment to a certain way that things are done.
Yes, yeah.
And I feel like that's what a lot of, like hardcore traditional Latin Mass people. We've talked about it before, so we don't necessarily need to dwell on that specific topic or feature of my conversion, but it just feels a little like you can like one kind of Mass over the other,
right? Yeah,
that's fine, but the fixation on the supremacy of the traditional Latin Mass bothers me because the attitude, whether people know it or not, generally is that they like the Latin Mass because they deep within themselves, whether or not they recognize it, think that the Novus Ordo is like just illegitimate at all.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that really bothers me. And I know that I was telling, and I don't think we haven't talked about it on the show yet, but I was talking to you about like sedevacantists because sedevacantists are like one specific. The Pope is not the Pope.
Yes, yeah.
They're explicit in that regard. Like I get that's like people in like the SSPX are not explicitly sedevacantist.
Many of them are, but not.
But the organization itself is not
yeah. technically
sedevacantist.
Yeah, yeah.
I get it. The founder was excommunicated for a many number of years.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
For ordaining bishops. Against it's not technically sedevacantist, and it is now, as of like 2017. It's schismatic.
Right. Yeah.
What's the word? Schismatic. I don't know what the word I'm trying to think is, but it's no longer considered. It's now canonical or something.
Right.
It's a canonical organization or whatever as of 2017, which I don't know if that was just a concession to try to keep things from being too chaotic or not. I don't know.
I think part of it was concession. I think the other part was that the fact that they didn't like start making their own popes.
Oh, yeah. There was long enough that they were like, okay.
Yeah, they pretty much stayed faithful to what they claimed originally. So they weren't going crazy. They weren't saying like, I'm gonna like this, or there are no popes or whatever. They stuck to what they believed.
Yeah.
And so it's
because I know that but there's something, regardless of whatever status the SSPX has at whatever time, doesn't really. It's just, there's obvious anti-current pope / church hierarchy. There's sentiments of that now.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, tell the bishops to shove it. We're going to do Latin Mass here if we want to or not, kind of thing. Which I understand. It's deeply American to act like that to me.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily respect it a ton, but there's something about those attitudes being as pervasive as they are that makes it harder for me to submit myself to what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
And not that I'm not going to do it, and not that it really has any bearing on what I know to be true.
Yes, yeah.
But I think the irritation I have with it is these, people are like, oh, they're super happy that you're converting, but they're also like sedevacantists or like SSPX or like super anti-church hierarchy. It's like, why would you ask me to go from my life wherein I submit to no church authority?
Yeah.
Part of the conversion process is submission to the church.
Yes, yeah.
And it's definitely a huge part of it.
Especially coming from a Protestant background.
Yes, and that's huge. And like, it's not something I'm unwilling to do at all. Like I made my decision a year ago. Like that's not a problem I have.
Yeah.
But when people get excited about me converting, but talk shit about Pope Francis 24/7 and insinuate that they don't feel anything he says is legitimate. It's why should I convert then? That would be my problem with it, is why convert if many of the people I know are so anti the church.
Yes, yeah.
That doesn't make sense. Like, it's not you want me to convert to your specific brand of Catholicism?
Right. Which isn't Catholicism.
No.
Right? Yeah.
No.
Once you start putting those
qualifiers. Yeah,
qualifiers. Thing to
it's no longer Catholicism. So it makes me sympathetic to the Novus Ordo in a weird way. Like, I'm having this weird slingshot. That's having like a slingshot effect at me, where like I like the idea of a Latin Mass, but I almost don't care to participate in it because there's something about that that has people fixating on something specific about the way Mass is practiced to the point that they're willing to reject church authority.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is because they attribute the way mass is practiced to the abuses, I guess.
Yeah.
Of what you see within people of the church.
Yeah. Which I guess could be legitimate. I don't know that. But
yeah,
there's something about
right.
the Latin mass thing. Mm-hmm. To me,
it stands out like a middle finger, really.
Yeah.
It's like you're saying fuck you to the authority.
Yeah.
And you want to buck it, and then you want to say that you are actually being more true to Catholic faith than the authority.
Which is schismatic. It's a schismatic attitude.
And so, yeah, I do get what you mean, that becomes a turnoff then. Yeah. Because it's like, well, you know, it's either the case that you believe that the church is protected by the Holy Spirit mm-hmm. and that you will submit yourself to what that Holy Spirit is guiding it to, right? We can not like it at times, but that just, you know.
And that doesn't mean that the people of the mm-hmm. church don't fuck things up all the time.
Yes,
that doesn't mean that.
Yeah. But it does mean that intrinsically, when you try to delegitimize a ecumenical council,
yeah,
you are in a way being a Protestant.
Yes, just be a Protestant because go start your own thing.
Right. Because you are protesting.
Yeah, if you want to do that.
Yeah.
If you feel so strongly that mm-hmm. Latin Mass is superior to the Novus Ordo, that practicing yes. Novus Ordo at all is wrong.
Yes, it's
you
wrong
have thousands of years of material to pick up, walk over there and start your own church.
Yes,
you can go do that.
Yes, yeah.
Don't, if you're not going to submit yourself, don't.
Yeah.
Don't tell people that you are and then not do it.
Yeah.
Because it makes, and I know that I'm speaking for many other people that are converting.
Yes, yeah.
Because I know several people that are in kind of the process, or they're either early converts or in starting the process or whatever, or kind of considering it, where seeing as much, and I don't know if it's just as online, if mm-hmm. it's just people are especially loud online, being as anti-Pope as.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if that's just normal for everybody. Like if that's just like
in the U.S. is especially potent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if American Catholics have ever not been largely anti-Pope ever. I don't know if there's ever been a Pope that Americans across the board just love. I don't.
Well, because like my friend Matt is that way. Like he's very anti-Pope Francis, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is something that I find humorous because, I was raised Catholic, and so like I experienced the way Americans reacted to the three popes that I existed with, right? Yeah. John Paul II, Benedict, and Francis. And what's funny was I went to a very, very conservative, traditional Catholic high school. Holy Rosary Academy, if anybody ever wants to look it up, they actually made like a reality show for 1 year with that place. Like they sent troubled teens over there. It's kind of
the Holy Rosary.
Yeah, from England or something. It was really bizarre.
What?
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
And so they're known for having like some of the best SAT scores, some of the best grades.
As far as a Catholic school in the country.
In the country in general, yeah. Is that the percent of the students that graduate from there have a higher education than majority within the nation?
So it's a very good school.
Yeah, and so but they're very, very conservative. Going through the 90s, they all were bashing Pope
JP2.
Yeah, Pope John Paul II, including someone like Matt, right? And so I was looking up articles online to show him how the conservatives were reacting to him. Like one article was talking about how he went to a concert with white sneakers on, and they're saying how that was undignified for the Pope to show up to some place like that. There was other ones where he just he was saying, or the fact that he didn't allow, like Pope Francis's order for not allowing the Tridentine Mass to be spoken freely. Mm-hmm. Pope John Paul II had the exact same, or he had the exact same rule under his papacy. Mm-hmm. And so they all were saying it. They were saying the same things back in the 90s. They were saying, well, he can't tell us that we can't say the Mass of the Apostles, blah, 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 and all this stuff.
It's not the Mass of the Apostles.
Yes. But
the traditional Latin Mass is not the Mass. As we know it, is not the Mass of the Apostles.
But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But basically every criticism you could read on Twitter about Pope Francis was said about Pope John Paul II back in the 90s. That he's liberal, that he's part. Say it again.
I'm gonna grab my bottle up there.
Okay. Yeah, that he's liberal, that he's part of like the what is that phrase I think that many of them use? They say it's the basically that he's part of the secular world, secular culture, that he's not actually saying being a legitimate pope, and then he becomes a fucking saint, right? So now he's Saint Pope Saint John Paul II, whatever. I always forget which order it is. I think Pope comes first and then Saint, but there's a proper order how you're supposed to say it.
I think it's Saint Pope.
Is it Saint Pope?
That sounds right to me.
Okay.
Pope Saint.
Pope Saint John Paul II or Saint Pope.
Saint Pope John Paul.
Is it Saint?
It's
Okay,
Saints first.
Yeah. And so there's this weird.
Oh, you want some?
Yeah.
A little bit.
There's this weird.
Good.
Like coming back to the same criticism that we have seen, and it's always that same similar group of people that you know the what we call trads, in general, what I call Trentian Catholics is that there are these group of Trentian Catholics that whenever there is a pope in power that does not dictate the contemporary conservative point of views, they automatically qualify him as a liberal. They automatically qualify him as not really being proper, that he's a material heretic, and so on and so forth. Whatever you want to call him, they all say.
Because that's actually something interesting. Is like I was reading the story of Saint Teresa of Avila.
Yeah,
and she reformed the Carmelite order.
Yeah.
But I know that I don't remember the exact history, and someone listening is going to know better than me. So just don't tell me about it, because the point's the same. But she was displeased with the way in which the Carmelite convents and monasteries had become more open, so like men could visit convents and stuff. And you know, that there was.
I actually didn't notice about
it. Yeah. It was that was why she started so many convents. So she had set out to reinstate many of the conservative practices of and of course conservative in context of the time. She. There were just that the prayer life was not nearly as rigorous. Men were allowed to visit the convents. Like there was just the convents were open to the town. It wasn't they weren't cloistering to nearly the degree. There's a lot of things that they were. They just weren't nearly as rigorous in their devotion to spiritual life, or their devotion was not as ascetic as she thought it should be. So she started to. She would appeal to like the cardinal or something to, grant her permission to open this convent. But then the Carmelites were mad about it, and then she was a Reformed Carmelite, and there was like a ton of bickering and tension in between. She was like, I think there was some order came from the church that she was supposed to she wasn't allowed to teach at all for a while or so, and I don't remember specifics, but a lot of her motherly duties as a mother were stripped. Her responsibilities were stripped for a certain amount of time, because they essentially were like, put a stop to all black people in television until we can figure out what the hell's going on, kind of thing. She's like, they're like, she was like under house arrest or something, but the tension was between her and the Carmelites. Yes. It wasn't between her and the church.
Yes. Yeah,
she submitted to all orders she was given.
Yes. Yeah.
From the church.
Yeah. And that's what
the orders can bicker amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Lay people can bicker. Different priests can bicker.
Yes.
But once the church says, hey, cut it the fuck out, do this thing, you do that then.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's an actual reformer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's when they say the Protestant Reformation, I never call it that. I was like, you're not reforming anything. part of Reformation is the submission to the authority, but you're changing it from within, not the rebelling against authority. That's just a revolt. And so there's and I think there's other narratives of people reforming things or just kind of starting a new order.
Because that's one of the virtues is submission.
It is, yes.
That's part of why the story is so beautiful. Is she took what she was given.
So someone like people like the SSPX, they're not doing that. Yeah. Right.
And even if they say they are, you're really not.
No, I mean, historically, just factually speaking, you're not.
Like Lefebvre, however you say his name, he was not submitting.
Yes, when you actually buck up against the authority, that is not a submission. You're not paying adherence to the magisterium of the church. You're simply saying that you know better than them, and so you're going to continue to do whatever that you want to do. And then there's people like the Dominicans who this entire time always had the privilege to say the Dominican rite. And it was elevated more during Pope Benedict. He's the one that really opened the doors for him to do it everywhere. But they kept,
because he was very sympathetic to
he was, yeah. But they kept saying that Mass because they didn't rebel against the authority. They didn't say, no, we're not going to say the Novus Ordo. What they said was like, the Pope said, okay, you could still say the Trinity Mass, but your main Mass has to be the Novus Ordo. Where they said, okay. How hard would it have been for Lefebvre to do that? All he had to say was like, okay, we'll let you still say your order of the Mass, but the main Mass that you say has to be the Novus Ordo, the Mass that we passed in this ecumenical council. He could have simply said okay to that. That is being submissive. That is simply saying,
because then there's stories where he would do something that the Pope didn't like or the Cardinal didn't like.
Yep.
And then he would go to like the Pope and like beg.
Yeah.
But then after he was told no, he'd still do it anyway. It's like, dude, you just begged. Like, why beg? Just do it.
Because I think he didn't want to be a Protestant. He didn't want to really protest in the end. It's hard for me to think that he was simply a nefarious character like Luther, because he could have broken away much earlier. It was a very long thing. I think it took didn't it take about 10 years for him to be excommunicated? I think it took a very, very long time.
No, the excommunication
happened in the 80s.
Well, the consecration was the he wasn't excommunicated for anything but the good.
Right, the consecration is what gave them. So was that 15 years later? I can't remember when
he started it.
No, when he actually got excommunicated.
It was pretty immediate.
No, because the Novus Ordo was in the late 60s.
Oh, I know, but the consecrations didn't happen until like 1988.
Right, so you're talking about like 18 years.
Yes, but he wasn't excommunicated for anything before the consecration.
No, that's what I mean. What I mean was that it wasn't as if the church was just out to get him and just excommunicate him.
Yeah. He did that thing, and they were like, you just consecrated bishops.
Yeah, you just went against the authority. Yeah.
And it's in a way that is palpable and matters now.
Yes, exactly.
Like now you're trying to canonize something that isn't.
Yeah.
You're extending apostolic succession.
Yes. Yeah.
Without permission.
Yes. Yeah.
And but again, it's just, I get there's a lot of nuance. And I get that the Pope's a guy. He's a human being.
Yes.
And human being makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Human beings make mistakes. I said it weird, like retarded. But the strong anti-church sentiment amongst many people, especially American conservative libertarian types, is very, from someone who is largely an outsider looking in at it.
Yeah.
I frankly think it's just embarrassing. I can't imagine not being embarrassed about that. Like I can't imagine being a devout Catholic and not just like cringing anytime anybody mentioned it.
Yeah, the SSPX.
Yeah, it's just the whole sedevacantism, the SSPX. Like seriously, I would be. People are like, oh, it's really hard to enforce. But it's like, no, I think if a priest sees somebody on Twitter and they're like sedevacantist, it's like, no, grill them. Call them and be like, hey, come to the cathedral now.
Yes, yeah. But if they're just lay people, you can't.
Why? It just doesn't make sense to me that sentiment is just allowed to pervade.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me.
Because they're not an authority.
So fuck them if they're schismatic or heretical.
If they're just individual people, it isn't fuck them, but you can't control them.
I know, but it is like a fuck them if they're heretical thing.
I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, heretic, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
okay. Okay. If that could be justified to me.
Yeah, it's just that they're choosing that, and so it's like, okay, just like anything else. I mean.
Okay. I think I see a middle ground. It still annoys me.
Yeah. But if a bishop was saying that stuff, yeah, the church.
Oh, of course.
The church would come to them.
But it's just it will never not bother me that like hardcore anti-pope sentiment is just allowed to exist all the time amongst lay people in American congregations.
Yeah,
it's disturbing to me.
I think that part will never end.
In here, or
I think.
Do you think it's specific to the U.S.?
Not just the U.S., but other places like Canada too. US.
The Anglo.
Yeah. Anybody that really ascribes very intrinsically to like the liberalism that we're talking about earlier in the show, I think there's always going to be that anti-pope sentiment, and that kind of exists in them.
I just find that embarrassing. But I think maybe I find the liberalism of it embarrassing.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you go like South America,
that can start to make more sense.
I don't know, like with my family and stuff, that just doesn't exist. And most people that I've met from South America, that weird American anti-pope sentiment doesn't really exist necessarily.
Maybe I just find anti-authority annoying.
It is. I think it's excruciating.
Why would you care about who's president?
Yes.
Like, why?
But it's also like this pompous attitude where they think they just know better. Where like as a Catholic and as a spick, I just basically think it's like, well, I honestly don't know better. I don't know which direction history that God has,
especially when like a 25-year-old convert.
Yeah.
The Pope is not the real Pope. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm just I have no authority to speak on that, and so the only way that I would ever have any sense of authority if they came to me and asked me for my opinion.
Yeah,
it's like, well, what do you think about this, Jeremy? I'm like, oh, okay, now you're giving me the ground to speak. Maybe now I will speak, but until then, no, I'm just stay silent.
There's some kind of a there's a similar dimension to me as far as like how I see it on an instinctual level between people who are like Latin Mass is only legit Mass.
Yeah.
When people are like it's similar in sentiment to like you have to read the King James Version of the Bible.
Right. Yeah.
I'm focusing really hard on what I'm hearing in the headphones for some reason. So I'm not enunciating very well, but because there's a little bit of a delay, but it's when it's the same kind of thing. It's like you receive the Eucharist at the ordained traditional Latin Mass is legitimate, but Novus Ordo sucks and at least sentimentally is illegitimate.
Right,
is the same thing as like you have to read the King James Version of the Bible.
Yeah, I think so.
It's the same logic.
Yeah.
This thing that we do and was decided to be okay at a certain point is the only legit thing, and anything else the church determines to be legitimate isn't.
Yeah. And I really do think that the rejection of an ecumenical council presided by a pope is what's the most telling of why that is so horrendous to say. Mm-hmm. It's like you're just, I guess I don't understand that weird American mentality where you can't just admit to yourself that you're nothing.
Yeah.
It's like you really, the Americans really, really want to be something important.
Yeah.
And they want to talk about the will of the people. They want to talk about all this stuff. And it's like, can't you just admit to yourself?
Most people in most places don't care that much about political theory.
Yes. And when it comes to Catholicism, you don't matter in terms of its majesty, in terms of its hierarchy. Mm-hmm. You just don't. You are a member of the church. You are willfully submitting to yourself to it. But if you truly, truly wanted it to be different, then you probably should have become a priest. You probably should have seen whether God guided you to become a bishop. and to see if he guided you to become a cardinal, to see if he guided you to become a fucking pope. But the fact that you didn't, that you chose to be a lay person, that you followed the line of becoming married, having children and raising them, and yet then you want to look up to them and say, I know better than you. It is as silly as if the Pope came down to you and be like, I know better than how to raise your children and treat your wife. It's like, no. That the way the church normally talks about it is that the family unit, you become the unit, you become the head of the household for the spiritual formation of your wife and of your children. And how you do that matters. And that should be your focus. Your focus shouldn't be telling the popes and the bishops how to do their job. No. So just focus on your fucking family at that point. You got a wife, you have kids, you have to raise them in the church, you have to take them to mass, you have to take their confession. You do what you think it is necessary, because that is your kingdom, that is your domain. You are not the Pope. As a lay person, you have no authority in the church of the Pope, but you do have an authority in your home. And so your responsibility is to them. Is to make sure.
If influence is really what you want,
yes,
you have a sphere of that.
You do. That's what I mean. And that's where the importance is like, okay, talk to them about the faith, show them and guide them correctly. Do it whichever way you honestly think it is better. If part of your methodology is to be like a perfect individual that never engages in sin, and you think that's what's going to guide them, then do that. If you're the type of parents that think that you just have to be open and honest with your vices so that your kids can overcome them, then do that. There are different methodologies for you to accomplish the proper goal of making sure that your kids are Catholic. But so many of these people, and this is what's funny. So like, there's many people in the Valley that are acquaintances of mine that are this way, right? They're always hard on about talking about the Pope, talking about the liberalism, talking about all the abuses of the church. And guess what happens to all of their children?
Insane.
None of them ever remain Catholic.
Yeah.
All of their children, every single family that I know that are quote and unquote trads, all of their children reject the church by the time they turn 18. Why do you think that is? Because you didn't focus on the part
you live a life you live a life of watching your parents never actually submitting to the church.
Yes. You put your focus in the wrong place. Yeah. You as a lay person living in Alaska, living in fucking Kentucky or Florida, you're not the Pope. You're not a bishop. You're not even a fucking diocesan priest. You're nothing. You're a member of the congregation, but you are a master of your home. You are as a man, and speaking more specifically to the men, you are the head of your household. Focus on that. Focus on honesty, truth, goodness, and beauty for the children and your wife to guide them towards spirituality, rather than bitching constantly about what Pope Francis is tweeting or saying. I know he doesn't tweet, but what he's saying, or people are tweeting about him, what he says in a news article that might be a little bit scandalous. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? That's why I said, who cares? Well, because one time he said, who am I to judge about the fags? Well, now you're going to go up in arms and be like, oh, this material heretic.
What do you want him to say? All fags burn in hell forever?
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not your problem.
That would not be very Catholic either.
No. And at the end, it's not your problem as a family man. Your problem is that kid. Are you teaching them right? Are you being scrupulous? Many of these traditional Catholics don't even know what scrupulosity is. That is a grave fucking sin that you could bring into your home. Are you being scrupulous? Are you being proper? Are you making sure that you yourself go to confession? Are you making sure that you yourself are striving for perfection, that you're striving towards holiness, so that your children can, and that you teach them and that you talk with them through love and through proper order? But if everything is always surrounded and focused on what words are this priest saying for mass, what is this bishop doing, what is this pope doing, and that's what it is, then you just become a junkie for that. and you tend to neglect the children, and the children realize that. And then when you are just so hard on them and just puritanical to them and telling them constantly that sex is evil, sex is evil, sex is evil, they begin to reject and they begin to rebel. I don't think it's a mystery. You know, this is one thing that I think is very, with someone like, I hate to bring him up again because I know you disagree with him. So this is another one that I disagree with him. Like commentaries that he talks about raising children, Matt Walsh talks about it. It's like, this is another disagreement that I have with him. He thinks that, you know, sheltering your children, and he calls it just giving them a childhood, right? Giving them a childhood so they're never exposed really as children to the world. It's like, I don't really see why that is beneficial for them. Yeah. I guess I've seen that played out so much with like good intentioned traditional Catholic homes, and it always ended up bad. It always ended up badly. I knew that this other family.
Well, Catholicism has to exist in the world.
Yes.
No.
There's another family that I know who the mom was just like what many trads would just think of as super mom. Like she was teaching her kids ancient Greek and Latin at a certain age. They read the Iliad, they read the Odyssey, they read Aquinas in Latin, did everything. The first 3 adult children that moved out of the house all rejected the church. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them. There was no abuse in the home. There was no anything. Mm. But, you know, when you really do think about it, it's like, why? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it is because so many, like these trad homes, use Catholicism as a means for discipline. Mm-hmm. You know, they're
very puritanical.
It is you know, they're saying that, you know, in order to be a good Catholic, you have to not do A, B, and C, as opposed to making the church a refuge and a positive thing for the child to come to when he knows he is struggling in his life. Mm-hmm. And so it's never a positive thing. It's always a thou shalt not. It's like they look at the church as the things that they ought not to partake. Mm. Never as a place to go for spiritual fulfillment. Always as a place that just takes you down and doesn't let you do certain activities you want to do. It's like you can't just use the religion for disciplinary reasons. You can't be like, ooh, if you sin this way, you're making baby Jesus cry. It's like you're not.
It's Jehovah's Witness.
Yes, yeah.
You're making Jehovah sad.
It's like, no, don't use it as a cudgel.
Well, I think that what happens with that is that, you know, especially in the teen years and then late teen into adulthood, is they really start to experience a new dimension of what it means that life is beautiful. Like they have like the experience of the beautiful becomes more intense and real as you age.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that, you know, people turn 17, 18, 19, 20 and they have like really beautiful experiences, and their experience of Catholicism leading up to that point has nothing to say about that.
Yes, yeah.
Why would I do this annoying, terrible thing when I just had sex with 3-4 people?
Yes, yeah.
And that was
glorious. I had one titty in my mouth.
I know. It's like, yeah, it's just like, It's like, I just got absolutely hammered and woke up naked with a woman.
Yes. Or two.
Yes. Whatever. Like it's whatever beautiful thing happens.
Stacking them.
Yes. Like if you don't prepare people, it's almost like you just spend a child's early years just showing them how beautiful life is all the time.
Yes, yeah.
And they don't do that. They immediately start with a regimen of discipline.
Yes, it's again just they use it as a means for discipline, and it's just, and just like, well, you will see a certain backlash to that because it's not it's not what Catholicism is there for. I think this was like one of the best answers that Bishop Barron gave before he was bishop. This was like 10 years ago, maybe if not more, when he was still just a priest. And so somebody asked him about atheists. He was like, well, the reason why I'm rejecting the church is because basically every Catholic that I know just were immoral, and every atheist I knew were extremely moral. And he simply said, well, yeah, I could see that happening. And the way we say this is because the truth of the church is much more weirder. It's much more strange than just morals. You could learn morals through reason. You could sit there and you could teach somebody the natural law theory without ever bringing up Catholicism. The point of Catholicism was just much more strange. It is the belief that God became man, suffered and died for your sins in order for you to be saved and to be in eternal life. That's a much more strange thing to accept. That is the point of it. When you think of Catholicism, if you think the end goal of Catholicism is just morality.
No. Yeah, just the Bible's a book of morals.
Yes, or that the church is just a moral teacher. It's like, no. Morality is a means to an end. That's not the end goal. It isn't that I'm going to raise you Catholic so that you become moral people. No, it is that you teach them it because it is true. It is for its own sake. Catholicism is true. The church says true things. Morality helps you become closer to God, and it helps you to become a better person all around. But why do you want to do that? Ultimately, in the end, is for you to accept the gift that Christ has given you. That is the point of morality. The church is not there just to teach you moral things. The church is there as being a conduit, as being the place where you go in order for you to accept the gift of God of salvation. And so when you use it for morality, it's a horrible thing for that. It's horrible for it. It doesn't work.
No.
Because it's just, what are you doing at that point? It is not there as a set of morals. It is there to tell you the gospel. It is there to tell you the good news that Christ has come, lived, died, and resurrected, and destroyed hell and restored life. That is the message that the church gives you. And then it gives you tools that is necessary for you to accept that gift. That's all that the morality is. Morality is just a means to an end. It is not the end itself. And so, this is the one thing that when I listen to some of these other podcasters, like on Daily Wires, that's the part that makes me cringe. It's like they think
it's puritanical.
Yes, to be a religious person means to be a moral person, means that in the end of the day, that is your end goal. It's like, if you think that is your end goal, it's like, fuck, you're fucked at that point. You're not recognizing what the church has been there from the very beginning and what has always been there for continuously until now. You're using its structure to form a certain citizen that you want to exist, that you call your child.
The citizen is the end.
That the citizen is like, no.
You want to form your child into a proper God.
Yes. And whenever people ask me why am I Catholic? Why do I believe in it? It's always a simple answer. It's because it is true. That's it. There's no other underhanded reason. There's nothing that I think, I'm going to rejoice and go to heaven. No, it's true. And if something is true, I'm going to believe it. And if I am granted by the grace of God eternal salvation, and then I will rejoice in it. And if not, I'll rejoice in it. That is what my end goal is. That it is just fucking true. Like, why would I be concerned with anything else when it comes to something like that? When it becomes to a matter of faith, why would I be concerned about anything else besides it being true or not? And so it's just something that I think is, when you say that some of these things are a turnoff, I think that's fundamentally what the turnoff is. Is that many times what many of these trads are doing is that they're fundamentally still Protestant, but they have accepted many of the doctrines of the true faith, but they're still functionally Protestant
in their moral sentiment.
Their moral sentiment, yes, and their in their order, like you said, saying that the Trinity Mass is the only legitimate one is like the Protestants saying that the
King James.
Yes,
Bible.
It's
they're
like,
aesthetically very similar.
Yes. And so they accepted many of the truths that the church has given them, but they haven't taken that extra step of just full submission and rejection of heresy, rejection of the self, really, and saying that I am nothing. This is what is true, and I'm just submitting myself to it. And so yeah, I get why it's a turnoff. Honestly, like it's like that should turn you off.
Yeah,
it
does.
The whole trad movement should turn you off because it is not fundamentally Catholic.
No.
Yeah.
Well, let me cap it off. I've had to pee to the point that I'm having to sit weird for like 10 minutes. But what my final comment would be, if you cannot truly accept the authority of the Pope and the Church, as a SSPX or a trad cath or whatever, if you really be very honest with yourself whether or not you're actually accepting the authority of the Church or not. If you cannot do that, do not ask me to convert.
Yes. That's a good
do
one.
not ask anyone to convert because there's no point.
Yeah.
If you're asking people to convert, but you do not accept the authority of the Pope, you're converting heretics into your own heresy or something. It's not a conversion. It's not a proper conversion.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta pee really bad. So I guess you could end it now, but you can switch the thing, but we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right.